Hello viewers and welcome to a brand new episode of Anzenmezzeron Hell Games, where I will showcase actual plays of Magna Gothica Maleghast. In this episode, Lilystone vs Vindicators, with Ruin have found you at last as Lilystone and Pool Noodle as Vindicators. Ah yes, you must be wondering, doesn't Maleghast only has 6 factions? That's correct, the core book that is. Since Maleghast has been released, numerous homebrew factions have been released as well. Most of them are still very much in testing, much like Maleghast itself really. To really summarize the homebrew houses that will be matched up in this episode, Lilystone are essentially Dark Soul enemies that likes to stab you in the back, while the Vindicators are just undead Yakuza that don't like people fucking with them. They have a full-on book of grudge shit. You can actually find Lilystone in the Step Below Hell homebrew supplement on itch.io, and yes, that cover kinda stretches the limit of what I can allow on screen here. Vindicator is on the other hand only in the Maleghast Discord server for now, so you kinda need to dig in there. The map both sides will be fighting in is an archive-themed map made by Bullfroggy, which is also another homebrew faction that can be summarized as Star Trek Borg playing hot potato of power. The map is a drone conversion facility for the archive. There are 2 cells here which a house can open to get a free thrall, but they can only open the one that's opposite of their starting location. The map also has these crates which are technically wall but they can be climbed like elevated terrain. There's line of sight obstruction in the middle, and piping as elevated platforms, a pretty tight map that favors close quarter combat. Now, let's analyze the Black Mass. On Lilystone's side, there's 1 Dragoon, 2 Forge Alchemists, 2 Harlequins, and the Baron Lich, who actually has no health, but instead possess one of the on-field units to bestow them with power. The Dragoon and Harlequin have submerged, which means only the closest enemy unit can target them, very effective against ranged units. But if there's a tie for closest enemy, the enemy can see all tied units. The Forge Alchemist however, does not have submerge, but as the Lilystone freak, they can do a thing called Lead to Life, which lets them beat up ally to make hollow, a 1 health unit that can only move and act as conductor for abilities. Forge Alchemist also has physical armor. Are you seeing where this is going? Harlequin also has an ability called Stinging Trick, that gives a target a vulnerable for each hollow within range 2 of them. Can you see where this is going? On the Vindicators side, there's 1 Toll Taker, 1 Archivist, 2 Fixers, 1 Big Bro, and of course, the boss. The Vindicators are much more simpler in terms of mechanic. They are just gore grinders but far less suicidal and also somehow way more angry. They have a mechanic called Vengeance, which triggers when an enemy deal 2 damage and more or just slay one of them, which triggers bonus effect. They are just a wall of muscle, do not get close. Also Maxwell is here. Anyway, with that done, let's roll the initiative. And Ruin got it. He gets to arrange his units first, followed by Pool Noodle's Vindicator, and round 1 began with the Harlequin stepping down a crate, throwing the Phylactery, which is the Baron Lich, the Lilystone's Necro, at another Harlequin, it's part of its traits, and played palm game with Big Bro, creating an adverse terrain beneath it and giving it 2 vulnerable. The Archivist then moved up and used Recording against that Harlequin, giving it 2 Vengeance with a lucky roll. The other Harlequin moves up, passing the Phylactery to the Dragoon before doing so, and taunt the Archivist for 2 damage before running away and gaining a vulnerable token on itself, and because it did 2 damage, it also got Vengeance from the Vindicator. The boss gets activated and used Earth-Rending Kick to kick the adverse terrain to the other side. Yes, the boss can just do that with raw fucking muscle, and thanks to Unrelenting trait, the nearby Archivist and Toll Taker get to move 1, the Dragoon, still carrying the Phylactery, then move twice towards the other flanks of the Vindicators. This will prove to be a major mistake later. The Toll Taker then moves closer to the Harlequin, and use multifold retribution on said Harlequin, which would have done a lot of damage if it hits. It still did 2 damage due to vulnerable however, so the Harlequin is now on death's door. A Forge Alchemist then smacked the other one to make a hollow, it then stepped down the crate. You will be seeing this a lot. The Alchemist then stepped down too. The Big Bro, who is a tyrant that can move 4, walked in front of the other Harlequin and cracked its skull, immediately killing it in 1 go. The other Forge Alchemist made more hollow and stepped down too. One of the Fixer then gut punched the Dragoon, dealing 1 damage. The Baron Lich, still possessing the Dragoon, then used its mighty power, to make 1 hollow on the spot. The other Fixer tried to attack the Dragoon but the hollow body blocked it, and the other hollows just stayed on the spot. Round 1 ended, and round 2 began with both sides gaining more souls. Because of the hollows ending turn last, the Vindicators get to move first, and the Fixer on top of the crate blindsided the Dragoon for 2 damage. This is to say the least, not very good, because if that Dragoon dies, that's game over for Lilystone, With no choice, the Baron Lich ordered the Dragoon to move its slow ass back to the main group. Honestly, at this point the match is over already. There's another fixer right there who can move fast, and body blocking is simply delaying the inevitable. But as this match is about showcasing off some homebrew factions, Pool Noodle moved the Archivist instead, who used checking the list, which grants some nearby Vindicator with strength, and more if there's enemies with vengeance, of which the remaining Harlequin is, so one is on Big Bro and another on Toll Taker. A Forge Alchemist then used Channel, granting one hollow speed token, which is useless right now, and extra dice on next attack. You might notice it's a melee range abilities, but the Forge Alchemist can also channel abilities from a hollow, of which there's one just right there, and because it is sourced from a hollow, the other hollow gets to smash Big Bro for just one singular damage even with vulnerable token, because of course it has physical armor. The Toll Taker then just beat the crap out of the other Harlequin, and unfortunately, this means Lilystone only has the Dragoon and Baron Lich left to actually deal damage, and they really need to, before the Dragoon gets to move. The Baron Lich used Haunt for 3 souls to possess one of the Forge Alchemist, and then used Armament against the Toll Taker, which only deal 1 because physical armor. The Fixer then moved up, and gut punched the Dragoon to next week, which then turned into a Drowned Armor on death. The other Forge Alchemist then channeled onto the Drowned Armor to grant it speed token and an extra dice for next attack before just running back up the crate. The boss then waltzed right in and shook his head disapprovingly. Yes, that is what the ability called, giving the Drowned Armor 1 vengeance and 1 strength to the Fixer. A hollow then moved down, spending the speed token. Big Bro then tried to use I'm Wide Open to pull down the Baron possessed Forge Alchemist, but the hollow body blocked that. It then took 1 damage due to vulnerable, and the hollow gets 2 weak tokens. The Drowned Armor then used Curse of Mud, making it so that any foe that tried to get away from it take 1 damage to do so. This is probably not a good idea against the Vindicators. Round 2 ended, and round 3 began with both sides gaining more souls. Vindicators once again gets the first turn, and a Fixer immediately gut punch a Drowned Armor into a hollow. The Baron Lich stepped down from a crate and made another hollow. It's just more hollow. A Toll Taker then just beat the shit out of a hollow and moved closer. The other Forge Alchemist channeled the other Alchemist instead, but this was done through a hollow, so it gets to move and beat the Toll Taker, but unfortunately it has physical armor, so nothing was done. The other Fixer got the door opened, released an Initiate, and gut punched another hollow before moving in. The Forge Alchemist then used Bog Iron, which was honestly what the strategy should have been from the start, and made as many adverse terrains as there are hollows surrounding it, before running back up the crate. The boss just used Earth-Rending Kick to kick one of the adverse terrain before moving closer. A hollow then moved just a bit. Then Big Bro used I'm Wide Open again, pulling down the Forge Alchemist and giving it 2 weak tokens, as well as a vengeance due to writing that down upgrade. The other hollow just stayed in place, and the Archivist used Check the List again to give 2 strength tokens to a Fixer, as the Forge Alchemist has 1 vengeance, and newly released Initiate then just beat up a hollow. Round 3 ended, and round 4 began with both sides gaining more souls. This is now the current situation, due to the Baron Lich being inside 2 layers of crates, which are walls. Actually trying to kill him is gonna take a while. Also, it's finally Lilystone's time for the first turn, and the turn got spent on moving just a hollow. A Fixer then climbed up and blindsided a Forge Alchemist for 2 damage despite armor due to strength. The Baron Lich moved just a bit then and made another hollow. They have to pay off somehow. The other Fixer then gut punched the hollow, moved up, and because it has Problem Solver, this counts the dead hollow as having vengeance, and it gets to punch the Forge Alchemist with strength again for 1 damage. The dying Forge Alchemist then, with its dying breath, made another hollow. Big Bro just pulverized the Alchemist before moving in. Then, as a last-ditch effort, the Baron Lich spent soul on Haunt to haunt the newly created hollow before running to the sealed Drowned Armor to try to release it, but unfortunately, a movement of 2 can only get you so far. The boss then smacked the hollow. But the Lich is actually still alive because of Dynasty of War, so the match only ends at the end of the round, not that it matters much with the remaining units. After the match, the boss freed the Drowned Armor before immediately punching it into a hollow, and thus, the round ended. Lilystone really suffered a lot from having their Necro basically having no health. Sure, you can make a lot of hollows for defense and effects, but if you make them as fast as your enemies can kill them, that kinda just doesn't work. Submerged is also a very strong trait against houses with long-ranged unit that are now a bit useless, but they don't work against a house that's all about getting closer. It also didn't help that 2 of the Lilystone units have magic armor, which would make them quite tough against Gargamix, Dead Soul, and even Ad Horror. But again, Vindicators is all about beating the shit out of people. Lilystone also primarily deals normal damage, and there's 2 Vindicator units that have armor against it. It was a very unfortunate matchup. With that said though, the biggest mistake in this match is still the Dragoon running off alone. Never a good idea to do that with the Necromancer, and yes, I know, technically this guy is not alone at the moment, but when one guy is taking 2 unit worth of damage and if that guy dies, it's game over. That's still kinda the same thing. Onto the Vindicators. I always wanted to see how a house that's just gore grinder but less suicidal feels like, and I think I got it. They just get close, beat up people, and if anyone pissed them off, they can do more shit. However, they obviously have some weakness. No ranged unit means they have to get close, even through bad terrain, and vengeance only triggers on 2 damage and more or being slain, means that all the abilities that deal multiple points of 1 damage are going to be very effective against Vindicators, especially if they are magic too. I also just like how their tyrant, Big Bro, is just a big bro. Anyway, that's all I can talk about this match, and I will see you all next time. Hello there, if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel and click that notification bell button. If you really want to support my channel, you could visit my Patreon page, or buy me some coffee, links in the description. Anyway, have a nice day.